Hello, everybody. Hello. We'll give people a minute to get here and we'll check and see. I'm going to pull my screen up a little bit here so I can watch. And as people join me, please let me know that you're there. I'm closing a few programs here because some of these cause problems. And it always does take a few minutes for people to join the live because once I go live, then it sends a little message out to everybody that I'm here. So hopefully you can join me in a second. I'll bring the camera a little bit closer here because that helps get the sound working better. I'm sorry about the lighting, sort of is what it is today. And oh, hello, Susan made it. Okay, good. The messages are showing up. That's good. And oh, I was going to also post something while I'm waiting for people. Let me know that if you've arrived. If you are interested in my new recorded course, I'll get it straight here. Go to, oops, this other link. I'll copy that for you. Copy. And I can talk about that in a little bit too. So, oops, good. People are showing up. Marie, Lynn, Laura. Good. I'll go ahead and get started then. I'm Dr. Kathy Marshak, and this is a Facebook Live to announce the events that are happening for our membership group in November. So I'll kind of do the little intro about the membership that our group is. Our membership group is hosted on Meetup. I have two membership groups now. I just started a second one. The first one has been around for 12 years, and that's on Meetup. And it's for NeuroTypicals that are in relationships with people on the autism spectrum. And what we do in our meetups is we have video conferences, teleconferences, there's message boards where you can join. There's a few in-person meetups, but schedules. Most of our events are either teleconference or video. And I'm going to announce what those topics are, but you're welcome to go to our meetup group, which I think I've posted a link to the meetup. If I haven't, I will post it later for you so that you can join us. And it's, like I said, I host at least 6 videos a month and 1 teleconference. And then there's also a free new member video conference that our ambassador Julie hosts, and that's for people who just to learn their way around the group, how we function, how we help each other as a community. Julie's been a member of our group for many years. She lives this life of a neurodivergent lifestyle. So she's a great person to talk to about what it's like to be in these relationships and what it's like to be in our group. So the topic for this month is anger and Asperger's in neurodivergent relationships, anger and Asperger's. And it looks like there's a lot of people joining. I want to make sure I acknowledge folks that are coming in to the call. Sarah, good. SMA, oh, good. Carolyn, yeah. Oh, my goodness, lots of people. Lynn. And I'll talk more about the recorded course too. The second membership that I'm just starting is a community of people who are taking my online recorded course. It has several lessons in there that I've recorded for you about the topic of neurodivergence. Remember, if you're a neurotypical and you're in a relationship, either a spouse, a parent, a grown child, a sibling, you're in a relationship with someone who's on the autism spectrum, then you have a neurodivergent relationship. It's diverging. So in this course, I lay out theory, techniques, stories. I even have Hollywood video clips to kind of demonstrate points, because I want you to understand better the the life that you're leading. You understand it personally, but it's helpful to understand where it comes from, what's going on with your partner. And an extra benefit is that the course is available to those on the spectrum too, not just neurotypicals. Our meetup group is for neurotypicals only, but the recorded course is for, sometimes couples have been taking it. I just launched it a month ago, um, but so far we've had couples taking it, and being able to talk to each other about what they're learning has been very helpful. And so then, as a result of this course, I'm going to be offering this next month my first um, online Zoom webinar for members of the course. It's just for those course folks. But that way, we've got an online conference for both neurotypical and neurodiverse. So that should be very, very helpful, I think, to people. I like to believe it will. So, yes, we've got people from Florida and San Diego and California and, all over the place. It's wonderful. Okay, I'll get back and answer questions, and I keep looking over here at the comment section. Go ahead and leave me questions. I might miss them. If I miss your questions um, before we're done recording, I go back onto Facebook and I answer questions. You can also message me on Facebook, and I will do my best to answer your question. Um, okay, so anger and Asperger's. What we've got is it it's so confusing as to why both of you, both the neurotypical and the neurodiverse member, get so angry with each other. And I, I, it's reasonable. I don't want you to feel bad about yourself. Of course, we want to manage this anger better, but I don't want you to be tough on yourself, because there's these two very different models of reality out of which we're trying to connect. And when you've got an interactional model of reality and a transactional model of reality, and I can explain that, they're not going to connect very well. There's going to be a problem. So if we get angry because we get hurt, we get frustrated, we feel like we're not being understood, or we're feeling disrespected by the other person because they're not using my language. So uh, the first video conference that we're offering, or that I'm going to offer, is on November 1st and 2nd. So that's coming up, November 1st and 2nd. I usually offer them at 2 different times, by the way, so that if you can't make the 9 a.m. conference, you can get to the 4 p.m. conference. Those are Pacific time. It'll show up on your meetup schedule according to your time zone. So don't worry. You'll get messages about when the conference is coming. Sign up. If you miss out and you aren't able to sign up for one of these, oh, it looks like the November 2nd one is sold out. Um, just let Daniela know. Send Daniela a message. She's our membership manager. Let her know that you'd really like to get in on a third version of the conference, and that may be what is known as the bonus conference. Every month I've started publishing bonus conferences to make up for those people who missed out on something because of a scheduling conflict. So don't be afraid to ask for more. We'll fit them in as my schedule allows us to do that. So why do I get so angry? Human beings get angry as a way of dealing with feeling frightened. when we are communicating with somebody who talks very differently than we do, it can feel as if I don't exist. That's what's called an existential crisis. If somebody doesn't understand you, if they don't respond to you, we have a momentary or longer experience that I'm cut off. I don't like being cut off. I don't like being invisible. I don't want to be treated as if I don't exist. And so we will fight back and say, nope, I exist. I'm real. I have an opinion. I count. Um, so, oh, somebody's saying that they can't hear me. She's in Virginia. Hope you can hear me. Uh, I don't see anybody else saying they can't hear me. So you never know. Check your settings. I will keep trying to improve the quality of my recording. That's why I turned off some of my um, other, programs. Okay, so the next video conference, oh, by the way, video conferences are not recorded and they're for small groups. If I freeze up, I don't know what to tell you. We're recording this, so you'll be able to watch it later. Even if it's a little choppy, you'll be able to see it. And I'm doing the best I can. I live in a rural area, so sometimes I don't send out the best signal. Hang in there though. It's gonna keep coming back. um, so here's the thing: the video conferences are not recorded so that we can have a small group of maybe 8 people, 10 people, and so that you can talk to each other, so you can see each other. I don't allow people into the conference unless you are going to appear by video, because the idea is to have our community meet each other. Um, the next video conference is entitled Explaining and Complaining Don't Work. That will be held on November 7th and November 9th. These are all in our Meetup calendar. Plus, it's also posted on Facebook. You'll see it there. And um, explaining and complaining don't work. This is sort of geared for the neurotypical part of the relationship. When you're neurotypical and we don't get a connection, when we feel like the person's just cut us off or hasn't heard what we said, we will come back and try telling it again. We will try a different approach. We will explain, or we might even just go, I just don't get why you're not listening to me. How come you won't just slow down and listen? We might complain. What that is an attempt to prompt our neurodiverse loved one to please connect. The problem is that in the neurodiverse world, by the way, they refer to this as NT-splaining. NT-splaining. They think that we're just splaining something as opposed to that we're really trying to connect and have a conversation. So it doesn't work to use that approach to either calm ourselves down or calm them down. We have to step into a very different reality in order to communicate with someone who's transactional. The transactional person is listening to your words. They're looking for a data set. They're looking for categories to relate to. They're not necessarily listening to the person who's talking. They're listening to what you're saying. We keep looking for feedback. That's why I keep looking at the comments to see if somebody said something, because I can't see you. We keep looking for feedback that the other person is noticing me. Are you with me? It's not because I need to be noticed. It's because I want to know if we're connecting. So I have to see if we're connecting in the comments section as opposed to being able to see you. So we can talk more about that, and I don't mind answering those questions today about how do we connect with people who are transactional. And then the third video conference of the month is Anger, Assertiveness, and Asperger's. And that's scheduled for November 14th and November 16th. And these last 2 video conferences are open. There's still spaces open in the conferences, so please sign up. And you have You do have to be a member, but you can be a member for 30 days without paying the annual fee. It's an annual fee of $25 to be a member of the group. The anger, assertiveness, and Asperger's. Um, in that conference, we're going to be talking more about how to be assertive, but not necessarily to explain and complain or to demand what you want. Assertiveness is really about listening. It's about recognizing where the other person is coming up from and attempting to build a win-win solution. It's just that that win-win solution may not be, for the neurotypical, being understood the way we understand people. And I'll talk more about that. Then the last option, and then there's lots of comments, so I do want to get to that, is the teleconference. And it's entitled, Are We Shaming Neurodiverse Partners When We Share Our Pain? So that will be on November 15th. Now, the teleconference is recorded, and it's going to be um, stored on a separate site that all members, all paid members, can go listen to the conference again. So you do have to be a regular member in good standing, and then you can listen to the teleconferences that I've been recording for a decade. And everybody finds them very helpful. There's no two alike, even if the titles are similar, because uh, I'm not just doing all the talking. People are calling in and asking a question or making a comment and giving each other moral support that way. So I think the teleconferences are great resources. Let's see here. And then, oh dear, I don't have the date down here. Maybe Julie's on the call. I didn't put the date down for Julie's ambassador meeting. Once a month, Julie hosts her ambassador meeting. It's free to the members to go join a video call. Julie's in New Zealand, but she posts it at a time where most of us in the Western Hemisphere can get in on the call. And that's where you can ask all these sort of basic questions, not just about the website, but about this life, because Julie's just really good about, helping people navigate our lives as well. And then we also host, um, there are some local video conferences hosted by members. And if you're interested in hosting one, let me know. We put it on the calendar so anybody in your geographical area can find you. So we have a UK uh, conference, we have East Coast US conference, and then Julie also hosts a conference in New Zealand, Australian, Singapore time that you can join at your convenience. So make sure you look at the calendar and see when these are scheduled. Okay, let me get back to some of these questions other than that I'm not frozen anymore. So B says, she's from Cleveland. Your videos were sent to me by a friend on Monday, and I've already now found language for what I've been struggling to describe. This is so important. What B is saying is that we didn't know what we were dealing with. We felt it, right? We felt the distress. We were getting angry. We were getting frustrated and worn out. But now we understand, or at least hopefully, as you take these conferences and as you sign up for my recorded course, I'm going to give you a language you can use, like transactional and interactional, like understanding semantic memory. I was just talking about that this morning to one of our members. Semantic memory versus episodic memory. Magni says, I'm binging on all the old teleconferences at the moment. It's so helpful. Amazing how many light bulb moments I have while listening. Yeah, I mean, it's so simple. You just put your, you know, earphones in and you just listen to 2 or 3 teleconferences while you're driving somewhere or doing your housework. And honestly, I had no idea when I started recording these all those years ago how meaningful it is to hear from other people who are living the same life you're living, right? Hearing somebody who lives in Norway or Singapore or Florida or Buenos Aires, that there's a pattern here. It's neurodivergence. It's not the language. It's not Portuguese. It's not Norwegian. It's not English. It's not Mandarin. It's Asperger's and neurotypical interaction. Alexandra, hi from the UK. Hi there. So Lynn says, yes, frequently bad attitude, overly argumentative. I call it the chip, like he has a chip on his shoulder a lot of the time. Oh, so let me talk about that one. People on the spectrum, and it's characteristic, it's in the clinical literature that people on the spectrum can be very stubborn. Is it that they're stubborn? I suppose, maybe. But it's because they sort for information through their data set as opposed to neurotypical sort for information from our interpersonal experience. So we're not so stuck with, neurotypicals are not so stuck with the exact meaning of a word. Or we say, oh, you remember it was last Christmas. We're okay with it when, and then the neurodiverse person says, it wasn't Christmas. It was in the summer. Why would you say Christmas? And you go, well, it doesn't really matter. I was just talking about when Sarah and I went hiking. Well, you wouldn't have gone hiking at Christmas. It would have been rainy and miserable. You say, well, I've gone hiking when it was rainy. I don't, but it doesn't matter when it was, right? Your neurodiverse person is sorting for the data set in a more computer-like way rather than the episode of the experience we had with the other person. So once they've decided that we were wrong about the time of year, it's hard for them to listen to the rest of what we're saying. We can talk more about how to get past that, but let's see if there's another one here. PJ, she says anger is a secondary emotion preceded by fear or hurt. Yes, good for you, PJ. Absolutely. Anger makes us feel stronger. It makes us feel safe. So when somebody discounts you, when they treat you as if you don't exist because you said December instead of Christmas instead of summer. See, I haven't said it wrong. I said December when the first time I said Christmas. Or I don't know what I said. See, that's the whole thing. Us neurotypicals don't care about that. We care about the connection, right? So when you're getting angry, what's going on is you are feeling afraid. When they're angry, they're feeling afraid. The other person is feeling as if you aren't affirming my existence. And we don't like that. We want to know that we're in this life with others who care about us. No, PJ, she's so cute. If I'm not signed up, put me in for the bonus conference. PJ, that's funny. Go sign yourself up. She's a member. She can do this. And I don't know what the bonus conference is for this month, but it'll be one of these conferences that's full and people can't get into. We'll probably go ahead and put that in there. Julie says, good morning, Dr. Kathy. Happy to be here. Now, it's not morning for me, though. So let's see what else she's saying here. Okay, good. She's telling me this sounds good. Yeah, I don't want to be treated as if I don't exist. Yes. That's called existential angst, by the way. We have words for this. This every once in a while we all have this experience that I'm the only one I'm gonna live my whole life with, and the only one I'm gonna die with. But there's spiritual comfort, but the existential dilemma is: do I exist if others don't acknowledge me? We are so designed to interact with others. So your neurodiverse ones also want to be affirmed that they exist. They're just terrible at affirming us. They don't know that. They're not using interactional methods like neurotypicals are. They're using their data set, their categories, their pictures, their words. Let's see here. Everybody's telling me my sound is good. Oh, that's good, Steve. Thank you. Steve says, Steve is anger-free at the moment. Greetings, everyone. See, it feels great to let go of that anger, right? It feels good, and he's done that. It's like, okay, right now I'm angry-free at the moment. Oh, that's so sweet, Magni. Yeah, she's saying that those teleconferences are calming. Why? Because even in a recording of other neurotypicals, we're being affirmed that the way I'm feeling is the way somebody else feels too. That's taken from our feeling memories. That's where we go a lot. If somebody gets me, that's healing, right? So that's what you get from these video calls and from the new recorded course. I'm going to throw that in again to remind you that I lay everything out that I know in that video course. It's several hours, but it's not all at once. It's little tiny snippets. You watch a little video, you get to think about it, you talk with your partner about it or whatever. And that is another community that's going to be getting together like once a month. November 16th, that's it. November 16th, 4 o'clock Pacific time is when we're hosting the first video call for people taking the course. You do have to take the course to be on that call because I'm going to use language that you've learned by taking the course. Yeah, Sonia says, thank you. I'm happy to be here. This is so helpful knowing I'm not alone. Absolutely. Right. It's so interesting that, PJ is also noticing as NTs, as neurotypicals, we keep trying to reconnect and resolve so we can better understand our relationship. We're so relationship oriented. Even if you're an introvert, even if you're okay spending lots of time by yourself, we still have to go out and connect. Or we might send a quick little text to somebody, right? Or we take the dog for a walk and a neighbor's out pruning their tree and we stop and chat. It's just important to keep finding ways to acknowledge that you exist, that others exist, because we want to let them know that they exist, that they're important to us. Even just the grocery checker, it doesn't matter. So the thing is, this is what my next recorded video is going to be about, by the way, is about that we make meaning of our reality from our memories of interactions with others. Now, we all do that, neurodiverse and neurotypical. However, neurotypicals rely wholeheartedly on those experiences to shape how we engage the world, whereas the neurodiverse rely on words, facts, categories, stuff like that to help them understand the world, which is why they become transactional. You'll get that in the course. I do talk about that in the course, but I'm going to expand on that a little bit more. Debbie says, my hubby triggers my anger by not understanding why I do things. I feel like I'm between a rock and a hard place most of the time. And then she says, he complained the other day about me not asking him about something I was planning to do. But when I had tried to talk about it, he wasn't interested. It's very typical, makes me crazy. Right. This is complex. This is really important. What Debbie's got a great example of this mix-up. She was trying to converse with him, and a conversation is an interaction for neurotypicals. Okay? Interactions mean she was trying to share with him what she had in mind. If he had listened to what was important to Debbie and why she was doing what she was doing, he wouldn't have forgotten what she told him, right? If he's storing the information that she's telling him according to facts and figures and numbers in his calendar and so forth, then he wouldn't have heard her sort of speculating about what she was going to do, but it's not speculating to us. We might say, and I think on Saturday I'm going to go to the Saturday market because it's last weekend that it's going to be open, and I want to do a little shopping. Unless you had something else in mind, we throw it out, right? And then uh, he's supposed to say something like, "Well, that'd be fun. Oh, I wish I could go, but I can't. But when you're there, can you say hello to the guy who makes the hats? Because next year I want to get one of those hats." Anyway, you have a little conversation. And then when she's coming back and he's been busy working on the taxes or whatever, he's supposed to say, "So how was Saturday market?" Instead, he says, "Where were you?" Right? Where were you? Oh, thank you, Julie. Julie says the ambassador call is November 18th. I'm so sorry. You'll find it on the calendar though. So all you have to do is go to the calendar and click that you want to attend. I want to make sure I'm getting everybody else here. Um, so, and so back to that anger thing. It's like, didn't you hear me? Or he's angry because you didn't tell me. And in a way, you didn't tell him. Instead, you had a conversation. So it's really frustrating. The only way we can tell him is to say, "Write this down," or "I've written it down, I'm putting it on the refrigerator. I'm leaving tomorrow morning at 10 to go to the Saturday market. Don't forget." It's like, that's no fun. We wanted to have a conversation. So let's see here. PJ says, "Win-win solution. The AS will have to always be right. Seriously, can't they learn tools like NTs are trying to learn? Can they learn to do things differently? They're usually brilliant. What works with them to come to middle ground?" Um, that's a complex question and it's great. And I answer it in the course a lot better than I'm going to do here on the Facebook Live. But of course, they can learn new things, but they need to learn that they don't know how we think. And that's hard. They don't know what we're paying attention to because it doesn't occur to them to pay attention to it. So the first lesson for neurodiverse people is that there's something going on here that's outside of my awareness. It's over here. It's operating back here, but I can't see it. But I need to believe that it's there and it's meaningful to the other person. They have to believe that. And a lot of times it's just hard to believe. And then, yes, Guinevere says he says the most hurtful things he can and doesn't see reason. I have asked what I can do, but he says nothing. After he's calmed down, how do I bring up topics that I know are going to escalate this issue again? I'm tired of being mistreated. Exactly. The you First of all, the hurtful things are an attempt to shut you down and stop you from saying any more. And that's awful. That's immature behavior and it's not acceptable. Bringing it up again, probably once things have deteriorated to this contemptuous type of communication, I usually think it's better if you bring it up in therapy. Let the therapist tackle the hard stuff because if you keep trying to do it, what's going to happen is that you'll just fight and fight and fight. So it doesn't mean you shouldn't try, and do your best to bring it up and say, "Hey, please don't talk me out of this. I know what I'm talking about. I don't like the way you treated me and I want to deal with this." But it's hard to have that kind of authority with your spouse because you want a a a an experience. So let's see here. Um, yes, people are talking to each other in the comments section, which is lovely. And you can do that in our events on the Meetup group too. You can actually talk to each other. Um, So let's see here. Maggie says, "My husband never really gets angry. He shuts down." Yes, so that can be passive aggressive, as she says. Uh, and sometimes he would cry when he was angry. It's so difficult. When you don't, we use emotions like to paint the canvas of the conversation. We go back into memories and pull up a little subtle feeling that's similar to what's going on right now. And then we paint the conversation with this other person. And if they agree that we're on the right track, then we keep expanding the conversation. Many people on the spectrum, because they use facts, figures, categories, semantics, they're not using their emotions to understand reality, so they're terrible at knowing what's going on with them or communicating with us about our feelings or explaining their feelings. Now, there's other um, sensory processing problems for autism as well. So sometimes this alexithymia issue is because they're not able to feel their feelings at the same time that they're thinking of a word. That's a type of problem that's very common. So the bottom line, though, is that if they can learn to slow down and answering to PJ and other people's questions, is can they learn? Sure, but they need to slow down. You need to slow down, the neurotypical, and allow them to process those data sets first. You know how they ask a bunch of questions that aren't relevant? Because they're looking at what you're saying as a math problem. So instead, they're asking a bunch of questions that really aren't relevant, but they need to do that to get through their semantic organization, their transactional organization, before they can get to how they feel. So my former brother-in-law, who's an attorney, was so funny. He was obviously looking very angry. He's really annoyed with me about something. And I said, Richard, you seem pretty angry. And he goes, I'm not angry. And I thought, well, maybe he's being defensive. I wasn't sure. He says, I'm not angry. And I said, well, you seem awfully angry. And he says, well, anger has nothing to do with it. So was he telling me that he wasn't angry or that angry has nothing to do with what he was trying to talk about? Or both? I don't know. It's kind of confusing because he was definitely angry and he was yelling at me. But he's on the spectrum. He doesn't know that I'm picking up those cues. He doesn't know he's sending them. Does that make sense? It's very confusing. But if I were his therapist instead of his sister-in-law, I might have been able to say, that's going to be real confusing to your wife, your girlfriend, your children, if they're picking up an emotion and you haven't registered it yet in your own consciousness. Could you slow down? So Sarah says, can they learn to use interactional methods to affirm us? Yes, but they have to slow down. So what happens is if they slow down, if I could get Richard to slow down enough, he might say later, oh, yeah, I guess I was kind of annoyed. That's a start. And then it would take a lot longer for me to say, it's hard for me when you don't acknowledge that you're upset, but I can see that you are. And so I have feelings about that. So you do your best to explain that stuff to them. But remember, explaining and complaining kind of leaves them cold unless they're ready for it. So all human beings can use interactional methods. We can use transactional methods. We can get very transactional. As parents, we're very transactional. It's just that it's not very rewarding. As a parent, when you're very transactional and you're explaining to your child that they need to bring the car back by 11, they need to be in bed by 10 or whatever it is, that transactional stuff, it's like we know as parents that this is important for us to do, to set structure for our children. We have a sense of a huge responsibility to help these young people grow into people. But I'm not sure it's fun. I don't really find that transactional stuff very much fun. So we can do it, we just, especially with our children, or perhaps with a new employee. But over time, like I've had employees in the past ask me for how I want them to do things, and I'll say, I don't care, just get it done. I'm a terrible boss because I won't give them an outline. So I always say to people, your job is to make my job easier. That's about the best I can do for employees. So obviously, I'm not a business manager. Okay, so Susan says, so what do we do if we're in an agreement and he hits below the belt using something from my past before I met him? Oh, I think that's a really good question, Susan. So what's happening is when he hits below the belt, it means you didn't know that you scared him somehow. And so he's going to come back and go at you. You've got to grab that like a kung fu expert and let it flow back behind you and say, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I did do that, but that's not what I'm talking about. And get it back into the conversation. The problem with transactional people is they're very good at coming up with that you said something wrong. You said Christmas when it was really summer, whatever it is, or some mistake you've made that made you feel bad about yourself, and then you stop and you go, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. Don't do that. As soon as it gets transactional, step out of it. Don't go there, right? Otherwise, you're going to feel um, you're just going to lose. You're going to lose the fight, and that doesn't help anybody. Go ahead and lose the fight, but it doesn't really help solve the problem. I hope that makes sense. Transactional people win. They just win if we stay with them. Well, of course, it wasn't Christmas. You're right. It was the summer. But here's what I was trying to say. Well, why didn't you say that in the first place? You said Christmas. If you want to talk about Christmas, let's stay on that subject. And before you know it, you're talking about stupid stuff instead of what's really important. Yeah, PJ, I know. Um, she says, I'm so isolated and alone as a result of no connections, and I feel as a result of me losing myself and becoming more like my Aspie husband. This is the point of this stuff. We get angry because we want to exist, because we know we do exist. And you can turn around and get affirmation from a next door neighbor or from the grocery checker, and your own spouse just walks past you as you're trying to say something. That makes us, it's more than just getting angry, okay? The next step in this constant lack of affirmation for who we are, the next step after anger is to begin to doubt yourself, to begin to pull away from all human interaction. That's not healthy for us. We can't do that. Don't let this transactional person do that to you. Let's see here. Oh, Sarah, I'm glad you just signed up. Somebody just signed up for the recorded course. It's really amazing. If I do say so myself, I went back and re-recorded, and as I was recording and telling you things, like I'm doing on Facebook Live here, as I was recording things, I went and I finished it up and I go, oh, wait a minute, there's one more thing. I need to fix that. I need to change that. So I kept learning as I was recording this for you. And even though I finished it, I have new stuff that I'm going to be adding. It'll be a bonus material for the conference. So you'll the on recorded conference. So I'm not going to stop doing this stuff. This is really exciting to me. So let's see here. Maggie says, I would get angry though from all my frustration. Another reason why I'd feel it was all my fault. Knowing that what I know now, I seldom feel angry, or at least I'm very conscious when I feel angry rising when he triggers me. Now I get myself and all my triggers. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so happy for you, because exactly what happens is when you realize that there's nothing wrong with you, that anger is a normal human response to not being understood and being treated as if you don't exist. When you get that, then you can let go of the anger and instead say, I do exist. And since we're having a terrible conversation right now, I think I'm going to go call up my friend Kathy and we're going to go have lunch. You can all come down here and have lunch with me on the Oregon coast. I'd be happy to see you. I'm serious, actually. It'd be fun. Louise, I see Louise. And Louise says the course is excellent. My AS spouse asked to listen to the next module where we left off. That's wonderful. I don't have to remind him. He seems to like it and find it helpful. So here's the thing. I've been doing this stuff a long time. I started out talking to neurotypicals. And of course, I was working through my own angst. of having a mother on the spectrum, a spouse on the spectrum, a brother-in-law on the spectrum, a father-in-law on the spectrum, my daughter on the spectrum. I was working through all that stuff. But after a while, I began to understand better what was going on with those neurodiverse family members of mine and your family members and my clients. And so this course is really for both. I really am speaking to the neurodiverse person the best I can and the neurotypical. And many neurodiverse people are taking the course and saying, this fits. I didn't know that. So I really do encourage you to watch it with your neurodiverse partner, or some people have watched it first, neurodiverse or neurotypical, and then after they get the gist of it, they invite their partner to go in and watch it with them, and then you've got something to talk about and begin to heal, make the changes that you need and want to make. Carl, I was so fearful of her attacks, trying to avoid them, that now I'm anxious all the time. Yep, Carl, that's PTSD. What happens is that in order to protect ourselves, we start anticipating that the other person is going to do something, misunderstand us or treat us with disrespect. And so we start pulling away. That's what I mean about, shutting down, not, closing off our world from everybody else. And then we get less resourceful. So, how many people can relate to this? I'm sure you can all raise your hands. You're so fearful of your neurodiverse partner's attacks, or you're fearful of your neurotypical attacks. I have plenty of people on the spectrum who also are worried that the neurotypical is going to be snarky. I mean, I have to admit that with my former spouse, um, Howard, sometimes his processing was so slow with this um, semantic memory issue that I would sit there and I'd say, can you speed it up? Can you get to your point? I would gesture like this. And obviously that's not very nice. Um, or if he forgot something because he was recording it only semantically, not interpersonally. If you forgot something, I'd say, you know what? I'm sick and tired of you forgetting everything. You need a handler. I would say things like that. So I can understand why he might be afraid to bring things up to me, right? It's all understandable that we do this stupid stuff, but there was nobody helping me 35 years ago figure out what was going on, right? So you've got a little bit of a head start on this. Oh, Lynn, I'll answer that question. She was saying I signed up for the course but don't know how to access it. If you signed up by email, you should get an introductory email that tells you um, how to start the course. It's an automatic thing. If you've got your email set a little, to screen out me, you may not hear from me. So I'll go check and see what happened. But what I would do is you make sure you sign up using the email that you want to receive messages on. Okay, we're going to have to wrap this up in a couple minutes. Alyssa Ann, I have tried writing things down, appointments, schedules, etc., on a calendar. While this is helpful sometimes, it does not work other times. If there's any other deviation from what is on the calendar, like such as she stays late for work or he forgets to look at it, whatever, then it can fall apart. Absolutely. Um, they need to be in therapy, okay? The neurodiverse person needs to know that they have a disability when it comes to tracking us. You can put it on a calendar, but if a piece of paper falls on top of the calendar or somebody pins something on top of that note, it's gone, out of sight, out of mind. They have hard enough time remembering their own stuff, right? Let alone what's going on with you. We remember things based on who we're doing them with. If you're running out the door to meet a girlfriend for her birthday, I don't think you're going to forget her birthday card, but they will, right? They might get to the restaurant and say, and wonder what all the people are doing there and say, what's going on? And you're going to say, oh, it's my birthday. I invited my friends. And they're going to say, oh, I didn't know it was your birthday. You're going, oh my gosh, how could they forget this, right? They do. And it's not because they don't love you. That's just weird. People on the spectrum don't get this. They think, well, how come if I love her, she doesn't feel loved? Because they're not engaging in the process of loving, which is another topic that's part of our meetup group. I do talk a lot about love feeling very different for people on the spectrum than it is for this neurotypical. If you've signed up for the course, I have to tell you people, it's pretty easy. There's a link. There's a link in the email that you get, and I can send the email to you again. You just click on the link and there it is. Okay. But I'll check on the people who are saying that they can't get there, and I'll just send you yet another link and see if that works for you. Yeah, Carl has got a good point. You know, she'd get stuck on one word I said that upset her and could hang on to that word for years. How do you deal with that? Again, that's a therapy issue. That's a therapy issue. They've made meaning of something that you didn't intend. And we make meaning of something they didn't intend. Intention. Who said the road to hell is paved with good intentions? You've got to be careful about that. So therapy helps break up that stuff. And what I've found is my course helps break it up. So what neurodiverse people are starting to understand is that words do make a difference, right? So let me see if I can get through. I'm trying to get down to here. I'm not sure what everybody's saying here. Let's see. I can for Magni. Yeah, invite me to Norway, Magni. I'll be there and I'll have lunch. Any tips on how to broach with my AS parent taking the course or watching these videos? Um, One of the things to remember is that all of us want to do better. People on the spectrum want to do better, neurodivergent people. I have as many individuals who seek out help from me who are neurodiverse as neurotypical. So I always say, just bring it up. Say there's this new course, you know, I'd like you to take it. I'm going to take it, and then hopefully let's talk about it, see what you learn. That's the best you can do. I mean, sometimes people are just going to say, I'm not going to. But I, you know, I know people want to do better. Okay, I'm sorry, I can't answer all these questions right now, but some of you can. So go through and answer people's questions, and you're already doing that, which is cool, but you can do this even after I'm done with this recording. This recording will be posted to YouTube. It'll be here on Facebook. If it's, you know, jumpy because of poor connection problems, keep watching it. You'll get past the glitch and it'll show up again. It's listed now as 53 minutes through 53 and a half minutes. So 54 minutes, that's a long thing to listen to. But, you know, you'll get answers to your questions. Plus, go online and just answer the questions too that other people are answering, or submit them to me. And I will go through and do my best to answer them as well. And join our meetup, come to my course. Um, you know, go to the teleconferences, go to the video conferences, talk to each other as much as possible because that's where we get the moral support. So thank you all for coming today. I really appreciate it. Oh my gosh, it says 100 comments. There's a lot of things for me to respond to, but I'm going to do my best. Okay, everybody, have a great day, and I will see you on Facebook Live next month. Bye-bye.